Hello, Tracy's Kitchen and Appalachian Adventures. I'm going to talk to you today about the urban disaster list. Now, I think the urban areas in particular need a disaster list. Now, in this culture, we're going to experience a lot of natural disasters. We're going to experience earthquakes, floods, hurricanes, and tornadoes. And there could be other disasters that I don't know about. Now, just as an aside, there are ways you can flood proof your house. You can build a retaining wall to keep the waters out, or a flood wall to keep the waters out. You can put bags of debris around your basement area so the waters won't go into your basement. But the urban areas are in particular adversely affected by these natural disasters: earthquakes, floods, hurricanes, and tornadoes. They are the worst affected. And then next affected are the suburban areas, and then the outlying areas, people who kind of live like in the country, they are affected also. And sometimes they have a tornado in the country that doesn't even come to the suburban or the urban areas, okay? But in the urban areas in particular, you cannot come in and you cannot go out. In the suburban areas, you cannot come in, you cannot go out. You cannot go out because the first thing that happens in any of these natural disasters is a power outage. Electricity runs everything. It runs the lights in your house, it runs the sewer system, um, hot water heater. You cannot call anybody because there's no connectivity with your cell phone. The radio is out, the television is out. I experienced this all firsthand. Okay, so like I said, in the urban areas, you cannot get in and you cannot get out. After about 3 days, the kids start going crazy because they're hungry. They've probably eaten all the food. There's no food. The kids start going crazy, and they're kind of confined. They have cabin fever, so to speak. Okay, and then about the fourth day, everybody starts looting. Why are they looting? Because I guess they're hungry and they're just kind of going crazy. But about the fourth day, everybody starts looting. Now the Mormon religion, they have a rule, as I understand it, to have 300. Every household should have 365 days worth of food. Just stockpile. Now I think that is common sense. Now I don't know why the Christian community does not preach that for us to have a stockpile of food, because it's common sense. It makes sense because the disasters are going to come. And look, in the Bible, the disasters came. Um, but the Mormons have this rule, as far as I understand it, to have 365 days worth of food. Every household should have it. Now, you don't see the Mormons whining when a natural disaster strikes. Do you see the Mormons whining? I don't have any food. I don't have this and I don't have that. No, they don't, because they're well stocked. The only ones whining are the rest of us. Okay. Now, I don't know what the homeless people are going to do in the case of a natural disaster. I guess they will have misery on top of misery. And as an aside, there is enough wealth in the Christian community. Now, the way Christians whine about money, you would think that they're broke all the time, but they aren't. I think that some ministries are approaching $1 billion in assets. Okay, there is enough wealth in the Christian community that not only could we make a dent in homelessness, but I think that we could eradicate it by 80%. God has commissioned the church to help the poor. Okay, He doesn't expect too much from the world. Okay, but He has commissioned the church to help the poor. We're supposed to help the poor, but it's a heart thing. It's a free will thing. God would highly recommend it. That's what my understanding of the scriptures is. God would highly recommend that we help the poor, because God said, if you give the poor, you're giving to Him. If you help the poor, you're helping Him, because He has obligated Himself to help the poor. But He works through man. Okay, so actually, there is enough wealth in the Christian community that, in my opinion, could eradicate homelessness by 80%, maybe more than that, because there's enough wealth in the Christian community to buy houses for abused women, for elderly who are on the street. There's enough wealth in the Christian community to buy hotels that can be converted to housing, efficiency housing, but they don't do it. Why? Because of selfishness, stinginess, and only caring about self. Okay. How can I get the next dollar? How can I get the next $1,000,000? Self. But I have made an urban disaster list, and I'm sure that you could think of, some of the things to put on it. But okay, so I have this 2x there as a reminder that not only you have some stuff for yourself and your family, but maybe your neighbor too. Maybe your neighbor is handicapped. Maybe your neighbor is elderly. Maybe your neighbor has some small children. Okay, so not only you have this list for yourself, but some for a neighbor too. Okay, so you have canned goods with all sorts of vegetables and meat and stuff, boxed goods like pasta, rice, and so on, and juices. I recommend that you have bottled juices because you really cannot live off of rice and meat for 10 days. If you don't have electricity or water, you can't live off of, you have to have vitamin C. Okay. Canned tuna, meat, bread. Now, bread's going to go pretty fast because it is highly perishable. Freezer, like I said, the electricity is going to be the first to go. So if you have any food that is in the freezer, I'm an advocate of freezing food. If you have any food that is in the freezer, that's going to be eaten first. I recommend because you don't have any electricity, you don't have any way of keeping it fresh. Vitamins, vitamins, baby food. Okay, baby food like milk and just a regular baby food like canned bananas and things like that, canned fruit. Okay, now let's look at the non-food items. Okay, vitamins. I do recommend you have a lot of vitamins. You know, vitamins for your children, vitamins for you. The usual calcium vitamins, vitamin C vitamins. Okay, vitamins, a first aid kit, um, bananas, antiseptic, and so on. Soap. Okay, there's nothing worse than you being homebound for 3 or 4 days and you don't have any soap. You can't wash yourself. So I do recommend you have soap. Rubbing alcohol, okay, and peroxide. Those are germ killers. Diapers, diapers for children, babies, and adult diapers. Maybe there's a senior citizen either in your house or across the street. Um, or maybe there's a person who's paralyzed and they need a diaper. Okay, medicine. Make sure you have a pretty decent supply of medications if you're on medications. Deodorant, um, deodorant, puzzles, and books because you need something for you to do and for your children to be occupied. So I recommend puzzles, books, and hobbies like crochet or knitting or whatever. Now I also recommend that you are well stocked on water. Um, you're going to need some water for washing and drinking. Okay. Now definitely recommend you have a whole lot of water because you got to understand the sewer system runs off of electricity. So if you have a power outage, there goes your sewer system. Now, when we were in a hurricane, we did have a 48-hour warning that the hurricane was going to hit, so we knew it was coming. Okay, now what I did, which was smart, y'all, but what I did, I took one of those Rubbermaid totes, two of them, and I filled them both up with water. Okay, because I didn't know what was going to happen, so I put them in the bathroom. I filled two Rubbermaid containers of water. Now, those we were without everything for at least 3 days. So I used that for our bath water and flushing the toilet because you got to understand there was no sewer system. So I used those two totes for bath water and flushing the toilet. Now, also to the bath water, I added alcohol, rubbing alcohol, to kill the germs. Of course, you're going to use soap, but alcohol to kill the germs and, just to kill the germs and so on. And soap. So, like I said, I've experienced this firsthand. I did have some bottled juices, and that kept us alive for a few more days. Uh, this church gave us some food, and they were sweet. They gave us some food, so that food lasted. And so, church is always going to come through with blessing and everything. But see, I was a little bit prepared. I was semi prepared, but I was halfway prepared. Okay, I had the water, so we were able to, wash and flush the toilet, drink, and have some clean water to drink. I had some juices. Okay, and like I said, there was a little bit of food in the in the freezer part of the refrigerator. So I had, day one, I had to cook all that food. I put it on the grill because there was no electricity, so I couldn't use the stove. So I had to cook I had to cook everything in the freezer on the grill. Okay, it was good though. Grilled chicken on a day like that. Grilled chicken, grilled chicken and grilled hot dogs is pretty good. Okay, and I had some fruit. You know how you freeze fruit and everything, so I had to put that on the grill too, and so that turned to jam. I thought that was interesting how the fruit turned to jam okay, on the grill. But we were reasonably prepared. Okay, so I do recommend people who live in the urban areas to definitely have a 365-day supply. Now we're going to have emergencies. You know that the EBT card, there was an incident in one state where there was no EBT money on the EBT card. One state, and those parents, rightly so, panicked because they were saying how they're going to feed their families. There's no money on the EBT card. And you know what? There's going to be more disasters like that. It's going to be, you better, I don't care if you have 5 or 6 children, you better learn to can goods. You better stock up on some food. You better stock up on all these things. So that you will not be dependent upon this EBT card. Because I'm going to tell you that thing ain't going to last forever. It is not. The government is running out of money fast, if they even have any at all. And you know what? They're going to take money from that EBT card. And you better be well stocked in all these things. Canned goods, boxed goods, vitamins, baby food, everything. You better take the EBT card that you have right now and stock up on stuff. And you better stock up on all these non-food items. Because that's going to happen again. And I don't even want to think about the chaos that's going to happen. So be diligent. Have some common sense. Be prepared for a natural disaster, particularly if you live in the urban areas. Be prepared for a natural disaster if you live in suburban areas, rural areas. Be prepared. Have a nice day.